Which does lead us into another question, and that is, why would you buy this subwoofer over any other larger driver subwoofer that costs less? And I do promise to answer that question towards the end of this video, so make sure that you stick around and hear me out. Recently, Paradigm released the absolutely stunning XR13 and XR11 subwoofers. Today we're going to measure it, demo it, while we review it, so stick around. Hey guys, Barrett here with Spec of Tech. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My first impressions of this subwoofer were nothing but stellar, but now that I've spent some time with it, has anything changed? Let's talk about it. If you guys are looking for specs, they are easy enough to find online, but I did cover some of them in the first impressions video, which I've linked in the top right-hand corner if you want to check that out. Now we are going to get right into some bass demos, but first I want to say a thank you to John at Bass Electronics for yet another amazing buying experience. I had a flight delay, which made me unable to pick up the subwoofer the evening that I had intended, but not to fear, John was there for the rescue. He personally delivered it the next morning across the city. So if you are in the Calgary area, just shop at Bass Electronics and thank me later. All right, so now let's have a look and listen of this beast in action. I have some demos here that are just strictly the LFE signal from a movie as well as a variety of music. These demos are without any room correction, and as with any demo, there is a disclaimer. My room, my recording equipment, the device that you're listening on, and the fact that YouTube compresses the audio will greatly affect the sound, so don't take this as an accurate depiction of how it sounded in my room. Let me know in the comments below if you know exactly where this first demo is from. As you can see, for a 13-inch driver, this subwoofer can pound with authority, but also remain clean and in control. But before we get into the sound quality and the measurements, let's talk about the build quality of this absolutely beautiful looking beast. And guys, I'm just going to come right out and say it, the build quality of this subwoofer is absolutely impeccable. It is by far the most beautiful looking subwoofer that I have seen or had the privilege of reviewing. This is the type of subwoofer that would make you proud to show it off in a living room or common space. This glossy midnight cherry finish is just plain magnificent. It's one of those finishes that just makes you proud to own it every time you look at it. It's modern and classy, yet still slightly industrial and badass looking. It's beautiful, but at the same time, you can tell that it means business. I can just see the Paradigm design team sitting around a table yelling out all the things that they wanted this subwoofer to be, like badass, classy, beautiful, modern, industrial, and just out of this world. And I have to admit it, guys, they absolutely nailed this design. The front black brushed aluminum baffle blends beautifully with the dark cherry. Try saying that 3 times fast. The dark cherry has these contrasting dark streaks within it, as well as at the corners, which are just a small touch, but really do make a statement. The touch volume control at the top of the plate amp is just enough modern forward thinking to add some technological appeal, and moving around to the back of the plate amp, which is putting out 2200 watts RMS and 4400 watts peak, which is a ton of power for a 13-inch driver, by the way, but even it has an excellent build quality. Yes, it does its job by putting out massive power, but for an amp, it looks pretty darn cool too. It has a lot going on with connections and the heat fins, but still manages to look fairly simplistic and uncomplicated. And guys, it's not hard to tell that I absolutely love the look and build of this subwoofer. Just imagine having 2 of these on your front stage. It would turn up the class factor of anybody's front stage, regardless of which of the 4 finishes you choose, whether it's the glossy midnight cherry that we have here, the gloss black, or even the satin walnut or black walnut. I don't want you to let that small size fool you. At 103 pounds, this thing is solid as a brick house. It is deceivingly heavy and solid. It feels like if you dropped it, it would just wreck your floor and yet remain unscathed itself. To sum it up, the build quality and design are top-notch, all the way around. At $4,999 US dollars or 5,999 Canadian dollars, you would expect nothing less, but at least your expectations will be met or even exceeded. And at that price, you would also expect it to deliver on performance, and I believe that it does. Let me preface the performance with this. We have to remember that we are dealing with a compact cabinet with a 13-inch driver. No matter how much money and technology you throw at a design, physics and real life are still going to apply, whether we like it or not. Now guys, I've been getting a lot of questions of whether this subwoofer will outperform this 15-inch subwoofer or that 18-inch subwoofer, and the answer is no. This is not going to outperform a decently designed larger driver subwoofer simply because of physics, at least when you're focused on SPL alone anyway. Which does lead us into another question, and that is, why would you buy this subwoofer over any other larger driver subwoofer that costs less? And I do promise to answer that question towards the end of this video, so make sure that you stick around and hear me out. This subwoofer absolutely does perform with clean, tight, and powerful bass from a surprisingly small package and driver. I know that demos over YouTube aren't a great way at portraying capabilities of audio equipment, especially subwoofers, so I will do my best to explain it. This 13-inch driver can move. It moves air, no question. Bass is tight, clean, which makes it great for music, but also has a powerful rumble that gets you down to about 15 hertz, well, at least in my room anyway. So for those that are looking for a subwoofer that performs very well for music, but still want it to perform well for a home theater, this subwoofer can and will do that. And it does that in a very small and beautiful package. This subwoofer can and will excite your room, and it will shake things if that's what you want from it. But what surprised me the most is the tight, clean, hard-hitting bass. It hits sharp, but also has some weight to it, which shows that this is quality bass in my opinion. It isn't light and thin bass that hits hard. It has weight to it as well, especially for a 13-inch driver. It can hit you in the chest and shake my room. When listening to NDA by Billie Eilish, which is one of the demos I played earlier, it has this nice tight bass note that hits hard, and the X13 delivers on that. It has a nice sharp weighty kick. I might even say that this is my favorite subwoofer for that song. I don't think that I have heard a subwoofer perform quite that well for this song in particular. Also in the demos I played earlier, I played a song called Kill Shot by Eminem. I like to use this song because the bass is a bit of a torture test for subwoofers. It has a kick type note to it, but also some surprisingly low rumbles that is unique for music. Most songs don't go anywhere near that low. And yet again, the XR13 delivers. It handles the kick punch bass note very nicely, but also handles the nice weighty rumble as well. Now, before I answer the question I promised to answer, which is why you would buy this subwoofer over a less expensive 18-inch or larger driver subwoofer, let's have a quick look at some measurements. For these measurements, I do have some without arc, as well as some with arc, which is Anthem room correction, but arc was ran on the subwoofer only, not on the Anthem AVM90. I had the arc file completely removed from my Anthem AVM90 processor. And please do ignore the nulls and the peaks. That is mostly my room and not a fault of the subwoofer. All right, so let's have a look. So without arc enabled, you can see that the orange line at the top had quite a bit of compression. Even the blue line compresses a little below 20 hertz, but we will still use this blue line as our max line. But at about 32 hertz, we're looking at 108.5 dB, and at 20 hertz, we're looking at about 101 dB, and at 15 hertz, we're looking at about 97 dB, and after 15 hertz, it rolls off pretty steep. This will be somewhat room dependent, so you could see better performance below 15 hertz than I did, depending on your room. Now let's have a look at what the response looks like after running Anthem room correction on the subwoofer. You can see that the tealish line had compression, and even the orange line had some pretty bad compression, 20 hertz and below. So we will use the blue line as our max. Even though the subwoofer was capable of more output above 20 hertz, we still have to recognize the compression below 20 hertz. So at 32 hertz, which is our peak once again, it is 99 dB, and at 20 hertz, we're almost at 96 dB, and at 15 hertz, we're at about 94 dB. So with arc, we do achieve a flatter response, but at the cost of peak output. Now let's have a quick look at the response with and without arc. This makes it clear to see that with arc it is much flatter, but without arc you get more peak SPL before compression. One thing I want to point out is that all the measurements up until this point have been in music mode on the XR13. Here's a look at the difference between music mode and movie mode. The purple is movie mode and the blue is music mode, and they are both at the same volume. So in movie mode it starts to have some boosted SPL above 30 hertz, but they are virtually the same below 30 hertz. I was actually expecting the exact opposite. Normally in movie modes, they provide a little bit more on the low end, and music modes kind of trim down the low end a little bit, which is weird that this kind of does the opposite in this case. But that is how the XR13 performed in my room, but please do keep in mind that measurements like this are room dependent, so you may not see the exact same results that I saw here. As you would expect, Being as small as this subwoofer is and having a 13-inch driver, it is not an output monster. It has respectable output for the size of its cabinet and the driver, but again, physics still apply here. When it comes to the output, it had enough to shake my room and my fireplace while remaining clean, thick, accurate, and under control. And in my opinion, that is all you can expect from a subwoofer of this size. But I also believe that this subwoofer's target market will not be focusing on output alone. Earlier in this video, I did say that I would answer a question, and that question was why you would buy this subwoofer over a better performing and less expensive larger driver 15-inch or 18-inch subwoofer or something like that. Well, the XR13 is not designed for someone that prioritizes performance and price to performance above all else. I can't put it any simpler than that. If you are looking for the best performance for your money, then you want to look at other companies like JTR or Rhythmic. But that doesn't mean that this subwoofer isn't filling a gap in the market. And that gap is any customer that's looking for an absolutely stunning looking subwoofer that would make anyone proud to display it out in the open, but also provide stellar performance from a small package. Anyone that is looking for one of the best looking subwoofers on the market that wants it to be small without imposing an industrial look or large size into their modern minimalistic decor, but yet you still want amazing performance out of that small beautiful package, this subwoofer does exactly that. It is absolutely amazing for music and still does an admirable job for home theater. It also provides a respectable performing subwoofer for anyone that has already purchased any of the Founder Series speakers. I mean, this subwoofer will match them perfectly in the looks department. And talk about wife acceptance factor. This subwoofer is so unimposing and beautiful. I doubt there's a wife out there that would not allow this in your setup. So if you have been looking for a beautiful subwoofer to match a modern and classy front stage, then look no further. This is probably the most beautiful subwoofer on the market, at least in my opinion, and it performs about as well as a subwoofer this size with a 13-inch driver could perform, and then some. And that is what I think about the sound quality of this subwoofer, guys. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for your patience. I've been trying to get videos out for you guys as quickly as possible, but my schedule has been very challenging. Out of the last 6-week period, I've only been home for 6 days, and 4 of those days I had a workshop for 12 hours a day. So I will be heading out of town again for 3 weeks, so I really only had 1 day here to get videos done, and I'm trying my best to get those 3 videos done. So please continue to be patient. I appreciate it. I am doing my best to get videos out to you guys. I would really appreciate also if you guys would consider supporting the channel. I have a Patreon link down in the description, and I know my Patreon page is pretty basic right now. I do intend to do more with it in the future, but time is so hard to come by right now. You can also support the channel by hitting the join button or the thanks button below this video. However you want to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, why not? You've made it this far in the video, so you might as well hit the subscribe button, tick the bell icon if you do, and please take just 1 short second to hit that like button, and remember to enjoy your systems. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.